There are a lot of apps out there that claim to either make your life easier or do this or that a little bit more efficiently. So here are 8 apps that boost my productivity. First up, we have Notability, which was my note-taking app all throughout grad school and some of undergrad. All in all, I kind of found this app very handy to just jot down some quick notes. It's very easy to organize, but the killer feature I found for it was actually the integration with Apple Pencil support, because it actually kind of gives you that handwritten feel. Up next is Gmail, which is my least favorite mandatory productivity app. I'm not going to go through what Gmail is because you know what that is. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that a lot of people kind of live by. However, I don't use any third-party Gmail manager or email managers, although one feature I do really like about the Gmail app is the schedule send feature. Basically, what this allows me to do is I can schedule an email to be sent at 8 a.m. so I can give the impression that I am a nice, productive morning person, when in reality, I'm sitting on my balcony playing Magic the Gathering or drinking tea. Now, next up, we have Audible. Now, Audible is one of those apps where I don't really consider this a productivity app. However, it makes me more productive. Now, if you're not familiar with Audible, it's an audiobooks app. They do have podcasts or Audible exclusives. I don't really care about any of that stuff. But I've always wanted to become the kind of person who can sit down and just read a good book. I am not that kind of person, but I do find that I can integrate Audible into various different parts of my life, whether I'm driving in the car or if I'm walking around. It's a lot easier for me to integrate and actually finish books than if I was going to sit down and read one. My current task manager is Todoist. Now, this is just a general good to-do list app. Now, what I like to do in the mornings is I like to write down 3 things that I have to get done and then 2 things I want to get done. This kind of prevents me from overworking myself. Now, I do want to try OmniFocus at some point in the future just because I've seen a lot of stuff recommending it. However, the widget feature for Todoist is ridiculously good, and honestly, I don't need anything too heavy, and chances are you really don't either. As for like script writing, I tend to use Apple Notes, which is extremely handy. This is where I tend to keep track of like my video scripts, but also like book recommendations and movie recommendations. However, those 2 features are quickly being eclipsed by Notion. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The primary reason why I like to use Apple Notes is because of the sync feature, so I can like work on a script either on my phone or on my iPad. I might or might not use that to work on my scripts at work. Now, if you are not familiar with Timery is a time tracking app. Now, this or may not sound appealing to you. I generally do recommend time tracking, especially if you're trying to work on a project or anything to that general idea. However, this app does give me daily and weekly data of time I've been logging for different projects. So right now I have a YouTube timer running. So that tells me how much time I've spent working on YouTube in a given week. And there are other time tracking software things or things that you can do like in spreadsheets. The reason why I love Timery is because the shortcut integration is stupidly good. I do have the Pro Premium whatever version, but it was like $10 and that's for the entire year. That's not per month. So like if I don't go to Starbucks twice in a year, that pays for it. Now, my calendar of choice is the standard Apple Calendar. Now, I want to try and use Fantastical, but I don't have a Mac computer, like I don't have a MacBook or anything like that. So I don't get the features that are killer for having Fantastical on Mac. And honestly, for my calendar as it is right now, the Apple Calendar that I can see on my iPad or on my phone is more than enough of what I need. And if you do not use a personal calendar, I do not know how you keep track of stuff. Like it genuinely surprises me how many people don't have a personal calendar that they keep track of stuff. If you are trying to be a little bit more organized or a little bit more productive, I would always recommend starting off with a calendar. And last but not least is Notion. Now, this is a relatively new contender on the field. However, this has quickly become one of the biggest productivity apps I use almost on a daily basis. The reason for this is because I just finished reading a book called Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. But basically, they discuss the concept of having a place to store ideas outside of your brain. They mentioned the book Getting Things Done, which I'll mention again. And there's a quote in Getting Things Done where basically it says that your brain is designed for coming up with ideas, not holding them. The other thing I love about Notion is because the widgets on the iPad and the phone are amazing, but another concept talked about in Getting Things Done is the concept of an in tray. Now, I always have on any of my devices a widget that's just labeled intake. So anytime I have an idea for either a video or if I need to get something done or I need to make this or that appointment, I write it down and I sift through it either in my morning meeting or later at night whenever I'm trying to decompress. That kind of allows me to keep on top of things, but it also allows me to set an agenda for the next day. Now, that's glossing over a lot of the complexity that Notion does have in it, but I do generally love having an app that I can basically just throw my brain at it and it just takes it. And collectively, these are just recommendations. I'm not sponsored by any of them. I'm not sponsored by anyone, unfortunately. However, if you are trying to find something that just makes you a little bit more productive or keeps you on top of things, any of these things will just like level up your ability of keeping on top of stuff, especially with college being around the corner. It's just so easy to let yourself get distracted and just let the anxiety just kind of build. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and we'll learn something new in the next video.